CBT Nuggets, Introduction to Excel 2007. Whether this is your very first time to Microsoft Excel or you've been using it for years, you are going to see a different interface. Our goal here is to tour Excel 2007. We are going to start off with the ribbon here because we want to make sure that all of those tools that used to be in the menus are easily accessible and easily found. We also are going to take a look at the Office button. Your typical save and print tools aren't right there on that ribbon, believe it or not. They're in a new item called the Office button. We have overall the same looking grid, our cells, A, B, C, D, etc., and our rows are the same, but we do have more of them now in Excel 2007, and there are, of course, a few other little tweaks in the interface. Something that's definitely new in Excel 2007 is the default file type. When you save Excel, it now saves as a .xlsx file, which isn't compatible with Excel 2003 or other versions of Excel. So we'll talk about these new file types here within Excel 2007. Let's go ahead and get started and launch Microsoft Excel. It's here right in the front of my Start menu, but of course you might have to navigate through it via your All Programs to your Microsoft Office directory there in your Start menu. So here we have it. Of course, we have our typical grid area, all of our column headers at top, our row headers here at the left, our sheets at the bottom. This hasn't changed a bit. But you probably noticed right off, we do have this ribbon now at the top of the window. It's pretty easy to use, of course. You simply click the tab and it reveals the various tools that you have that are related to the tab. The Home tab. This has most of your edit menu tools, right? Here's the clipboard. Cut, copy, paste, paste special. They're all available here. We have our font, alignment, and number formatting features. We have some new styles that we can affix to our Excel spreadsheet to give it some pop. And pretty easily, we can insert cells, delete cells, or simply format them right from here. Row height. You may recall some of these tools from an earlier version of Excel. Again, if you're a new user, then it'll be pretty easy to get used to this new ribbon. We do have our Sum button that I use all the time right here available off of this Home ribbon. So you'll probably be on this ribbon quite a bit. When you go to the Insert ribbon, you see items that, of course, you can insert into your Excel spreadsheet, whether it be a table, some type of picture or clip art, or a chart. You can access it via your Insert ribbon. You can also insert word art. This has been around forever, but the signature line is a new item. You can create your own signature there that will always put in, for example, your name and your company or whatever it would be that you'd want to insert as a signature. When we move to the Page Layout ribbon, we see that there are new themes here in Excel, and it's pretty neat in the Office 2007 items that as you roll over, it actually updates the look of your spreadsheet. Of course, I don't have any data there now, but we will eventually when we dig down into all of these tools, as I plan to do through this Nugget series. Well, we're on the Page Layout ribbon, so of course, this is where you access your page setup items, your margins. Do you want portrait or landscape for when you print out this document? You can adjust the width, the height, or the scale of the document when it prints. And of course, you can choose to not view the grid lines within your spreadsheet. Here we have the Formulas ribbon. Formulas is one of the major appeals for people to use Microsoft Excel. So it's now been broken down very nicely into the categories that you may use. Are you doing financial formulas? Are you doing logical formulas? Or do you want to see the insert function and take a look at all the various formulas that are available to you in the original way, or at least one of the other ways that we used to have this formula wizard available to us? Something I've always liked about Excel is the ability to name cells, giving a range of cells or a single cell a meaningful name and using that in a formula can be a lot easier than having to reference cell E48, for example. So here on the formula ribbon, you have some nice name management utilities that can really assist with having a fantastic and easy to create spreadsheet. You can also do some formula troubleshooting. What are these various cells in my formula dependent on, or what is dependent on these cells? That can really help you to troubleshoot why a formula isn't displaying what you thought it would display. On the data ribbon, we can have some of the database utilities. Another strength of Excel is being able to capture tons and tons of data and then filter it based on criteria or sort it. Here in Excel 2007, you have even more sort capability. So I'm excited to get into our data portion of the CPT Nuggets series. You also can validate your data. You can do a what-if analysis. You can remove duplicates. So you can really get in there and manipulate your data pretty easily, just like you always have. But now the tools are right here on the data ribbon. We have the review ribbon as well. This is where you find your old-fashioned spell check, thesaurus, but research and translate are something that's new. You can get in there and even access an encyclopedia or a translation service. And I am talking about translating it from English to a different language or vice versa. You have comments. You've always had comments available, and sometimes I think this is the best way to go. A comment allows you to add information, hook it to a spreadsheet, but it's not actually included in your data. So it's not going to mess up a calculation or be out of place in a document, but when someone rolls over a comment, they can see that, oh, that's why you put that value in there, or that's, oh, I see what you were doing there. Well, of course, you might be sharing your workbook with other people within your department or whatever it is you do. So you can share it pretty easily, but you can also protect it as a whole or just some of the cells so that someone else doesn't get in there and make a change to data without really meaning to or without having your permission to do so. There's the view ribbon here at the end. This is really what allows you to see what your information looks like. You can take a look at where your page breaks are before you print it out. Have you ever printed a spreadsheet and then just a few columns were printed off on different pages, so you had to go back and make some major changes? Well, your page break preview allows you to see how it's going to break out before you print it. That's not new, but it might be something that you never used before because you didn't really ever notice it. No doubt you might want to zoom into your information. This isn't changing the size of the font. It's just allowing you to see your text larger or smaller so that you can really work more efficiently. These zoom tools here, by the way, are down in the lower right-hand corner as well. I can see more of my data at once, or I can see my data larger if I really need to get in there and make some changes. This little slider bar is pretty nice. The freeze pane functionality is available. It's been available always, and this allows you to make maybe a column header frozen on your screen so that as you're scrolling down below 17, you don't lose all of your column headers, so the data still makes sense to you. And of course, you do still have macros here in Excel. If you realize that this ribbon is just taking up too much real estate on your screen, you can always double-click a tab at the top, like View, and it removes it from view. Now I have a few more extra rows visible to me. If I just want to bring it back to make a quick selection, maybe I want to change my font, you can click the ribbon once. Notice it's just overlaying that because row number 1 and 2 are gone. So I could make the quick little selection, get back into work, it disappears from view. But if you did want to bring it back for good, you could double click on it again, and that will stick it there at the top. You can, of course, right click here, and it allows you to see that you could minimize your ribbon. We know we've been using computers for a while. We used to not have as much right-click functionality. It was pretty new to us probably about 10 years ago. But now I think a lot of people are used to just right-clicking on anything to see what it is that you can do with it. So the nice thing about the ribbon is if you're used to the old menus in Excel, we have most of the same menu names here. Insert, Data. Your home ribbon is your edit menu for the most part. But did you notice you don't have the file menu? The file menu is here in this Office button for the most part. So when I click on this Office button, I see, well, I can create a new document. I can save as, print. I can close this particular spreadsheet. I can exit Excel. So in your Office button is where you'll find most of those old file menu commands that you have grown so used to. Of course, the same keyboard commands work. So if you're used to Control-O on your keyboard to use the Open dialog box, it still works. I'm going to click Open, and let's go ahead and open up a spreadsheet just so you see some data. This is the same dialog box that they had in older versions of Excel. Microsoft was pretty smart with this. They figured, hey, if it's already been programmed, if it's already been created, why change everything? So you may be used to this. What am I trying to look in? I have Excel data here already, but of course I could go to my desktop pretty easily. My file name field is the same. Files of type here allow me to choose the type of file that I'm opening. Am I going after an Excel file? Look, XLSX. These are all new Excel items. Or am I even opening up an XML file or a notepad, a text file? So you have all of these different choices. You can even open up something from Access or from another database there. But of course, we're just going to go with the default there, all Excel files. It's a .xlsx file because it was originally created in Excel 2007. Here we go. This is just a small little spreadsheet that I've put together that has countries, the capitals, how large they are, and the population that exists there. As we continue on with our tour of the Office button, I do want to point out your Save As now has a couple extra items. Well, by default, unless you go into the options, it will be saved as an XLSX file. Of course, here, if it's just a onesie-twosie and you know you're saving it for someone who's on 2003, you could just make that change, or you could go into the Excel options here and you could choose Save, and then you could choose to save your files in whatever format you always want to save them in, whatever is most likely that you save your items in. Well, if I go back to this Office button, back to Save As, I can also show you that PDF and XPS are a new addition in your Save As tool here. PDF is something that's very popular now. A lot of companies store their information as a PDF file because they can post it on their intranet or out there on the web for everyone to be able to access. And when you save an item as a PDF file, you can make it so that no one's able to ever make any changes to it. They simply are going to be reading your data. XPS is a totally new file type here. XML paper specification is what that stands for. What this does, similar to PDF, is that it preserves your document for formatting, and it does enable sharing, but you can save it as a read-only. So if you're dealing with Microsoft users, then you might want to use XPS. If you're dealing with the world at large, you might want to use a PDF file. You do need to know XPS can only be read by people who have installed the XPS viewer, which of course is something that they can download from Microsoft's Office website. There are some other formats that you could use, and you could go back to the old-fashioned binary file format, which really just rips out everything that's extra, or you could make sure that you're saving it as an XML-based or macro-enabled file format. That was our Save As area. We do have print. Nothing has changed here. Are you going to want to select which printer and how many pages? Are you wanting to just send it out as quickly as possible to your default printer? Or do you want to preview that document? Prepare, this one's a new item. We've always had properties. Do you want to give your document a title behind the scenes there so that people are able to know what it is, who created it, or do a quick search on keywords? That's always been around. It's really adding metadata to your document. Inspecting the document's nice. There might be personal information or pieces of data that you don't want in your document when you distribute it to other people. This is a nice extra security feature or privacy feature that's been added in. Encrypting the document is good because only people that are able to decrypt your document can read it. So for those sensitive sales figures, you can have them encrypted, and then not just anyone can take a look at your company's bottom line. You can also determine, well, who in the world is even able to open my information or print my information. You can restrict permissions here. Digital signatures are another security feature. A digital signature proves that you were the person that created this Excel spreadsheet. It's your official stamp on the document that says you can trust it, I created it, it was my macro, someone else has not gotten into my spreadsheet, pretended to be me, and created a virus that you're now going to open and install. Or, there's been no middleman that's made modifications. It has the integrity that I intended. That's what a digital signature indicates. If you're working with many people with this spreadsheet, if you have to sign off on it, if there's a lot of checking and iterations to get it into the final product, well, now you can mark it as final, even make it read-only, and then people know, okay, there we go. This one's done. This has been baked all the way. You can also run the compatibility checker. If you're in an environment where people have older versions of Excel, you can run the compatibility checker to see if maybe some of the things that you've created in 2007 aren't going to be even seen by your audience. Because, well, if that's the case, you want to get back in there and make some edits so that they're able to use the document as you intended for them to use it. As always, you can send your Excel spreadsheet as an attachment. That is something that I loved. When they added that feature, I thought, well, that's perfect. That streamlines your operation. Of course, that makes sense, and it uses Microsoft Outlook as your email client by default. You can also email it as a PDF or an XPS. Those are the file types that we just talked about. And if your computer's configured for fax, then you can fax your Excel spreadsheet right here within your Excel program. You have a publish command now. The idea of publishing a document is making it available to a number of people. Of course, you could save your document out there onto a file share and allow the permissions and make sure that it's been shared appropriately. But you can also publish it, which allows you to take advantage of this item called Excel Services, which makes it a lot easier for you to share information. I know perhaps some of you have document servers or maybe SharePoint servers, which is a Microsoft product. And by using the publishing, you're able to really officially place your, package up your Excel spreadsheet and place it in the location that makes sense for your organization. So overall, your Office button is going to have the tools that you had in your File menu, or a lot of the tools for structuring or working with your overall Excel program, whereas your ribbon has all those nice tools that allow you to really create a fantastic spreadsheet. It takes a while to get used to this interface. I'll tell you, I've been using 2007 now for about a year, and at first it took me a while to find the tools. I would think, I've been using Office for years and years, and I know I've got all these commands memorized. So I think, well, I need to go to the Insert menu, I need to go to the Tools menu, I need to go to the Data menu to find this command. Where in the world is it? The good news is, well, we have an Insert ribbon. If it was in the Insert menu, it was probably there. We have a Data ribbon. If it was in the Data ribbon, it was probably there. But there are a lot of tools that I had to hunt and search for, and so I got used to it. I was able to find them. I like the Office 2007 interface. I did realize that I could find the tools pretty quickly and easily if I didn't know where they were, and so I agree with Microsoft. It is an easy-to-use interface. It puts it all right out there. And the Office button, well, you just have to get used to items being there. One way to overcome that is to take advantage of this quick access toolbar here. Well, our Save button is at the top. Our Undo and our Redo buttons are here. There's just a little tool here that allows you to add things. Maybe you'd like your Quick Print button there, or your sorting, or of course, whoops, there we go, it's huge. You can add any of the commands that you'd like into this toolbar. So the quick access toolbar can be something that you take advantage of. It's pretty nice. Well, a lot of the functionality here is going to be the same. I can select an entire column. I can select a number of columns by clicking and dragging. I can select a range of cells. I can double click to edit a cell. This is the formula bar up here, by the way, and this tells you what cell you're in. This hasn't changed. If I'd like to go to cell N56, I could just type it in there. Now I'm in cell N56. If I press Control Home on my keyboard, that brings me right back to cell A1. These items haven't changed at all, but you know what? You now have more cells here in your Excel spreadsheet. On my keyboard, I will press Control in the down arrow. That takes me down to the end of my range, and then if I press Control down arrow again, it takes me to the very bottom of my spreadsheet. Notice I can't scroll anymore. Look at that, 1,048,575 rows of cells in one spreadsheet. It used to be 65,536. Before that, it was 32,000, so we've come a long way here. Well, you might be wondering, how many columns do I have? On my keyboard again, if I press Control and the right arrow, it takes me to XFD. That is 16,384 columns. 16,000 columns, 1 million rows. And if I press Control Home, it takes me right back up to the top. Of course, I could have done scrolling there, but it's much easier to do it that way. Now, here's the thing. Your computer may not be able to handle data in 1 million rows and 16,000 columns. So it is based on the amount of memory that you have in your computer, how much data you can have that you're working with at one time. But something that's nice about 2007 is there's greater memory management. A lot of us now have purchased computers with more than one processor, so it also will take advantage of threading to be able to use more than one processor, and it's nice. In other words, as our computers have gotten bigger and more robust, Microsoft has updated their applications to be able to work with more data, but overall, one of the biggest restraints to how large your spreadsheets are is, well, how much can your computer actually do? Some of the other items that haven't changed are the ability to have more than one sheet. I can just click this to receive a new sheet. I can double click and give my sheet a name. I'll call this Country Data. Hit Enter. Now that's locked in. You can rearrange your sheets by simply clicking and dragging them so that they'll make more sense. And if you have a number of sheets, you could click here, take you to the last sheet, or you can go one by one here. It's not making a difference because I really only have 4 sheets visible and my scroll bars over there. So now we can see it bumped me to sheet 4. All right. None of this stuff is probably too awfully surprising to you, but this is something that I do like. If I wanted to, on the fly, see the average of a range of cells, I can do that. In the old days, you would see just one of these at a time, either average, count, or sum, and with a right click you could change it to say, well, you know what, I'd rather see the minimum, the maximum. So you can, of course, select other items to see, but I love that at a glance I can see all at once the average, the count, which is the number of cells I have selected, and the sum. I use that count all the time when I'm tracking how much information I've gotten complete for my job. I can really just select the whole column and it tells me 237 So I'll just subtract 1 because, well, that isn't actually data. And I know, well, I've completed 236 rows of information here. I think that's pretty fantastic. And if I deleted this, or you know what, I'm not going to delete it. I'm going to move it though. Just click and drag. We'll move it out of the way. And now I select, it has updated the count, so it's nice. It only counts cells that have data there, so it really gives you an accurate count. I don't know if you noticed this, but I was able just to cut and paste by having my cursor look like a double-sided arrow. Drag it and drop it. I'll click Save just to make sure. Well, I didn't really make any changes after all, but I always like to get in the habit of saving because, as you've probably experienced in the past as well, sometimes when you don't save, you lose information, and that can be quite frustrating. Well, hopefully this has helped you to feel comfortable with the new interface. Of course, as we get through these nuggets, we're going to get into many, many, many of the tools, well, all the tools that you see there. Here, our goal was to make sure that you knew that the ribbon existed and really to give you the courage to keep with it. You might be a little bit frustrated at first if you're used to other versions of Excel, but if you stick with it, you'll probably grow to like it a little bit better. That Office button is new also. That's where really all of your file menus are hidden now. Your options, your open, your close, your save as, your publish, which is a new item. The interface as a whole, we took a real quick tour there to make sure you knew what was the same and what was new. And a big deal is the fact that now, by default, your Excel documents are a .xlsx file type, but you can always make that change to accommodate whatever your environment needs you to accommodate. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.